Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Day 5 here at, you know, Media Row from our from my Fantasy Life booth here in San Francisco. Being able to come to you, New York Giants on SI. Make sure you go there to get all of your New York Giants news and information. As always, I am Coach Gene Clemons back for day 5 of these things. Like I told you guys I would be with you every single day, and I think I have, I think I've done my thing. I'm just saying. Shout out to everyone who has um, tuned in, everybody who's been around. But there's some real stuff going on, right? Just so for all of you who are wondering, it looks a little more empty behind me. It looks a little bit more empty behind me because Thursday is like the huge day. Thursday is like the day when everybody is here. And then by Friday, you're getting a lot of the big shots, a lot of the big heads. They're all like packing up shops, right? There's a lot of entities that don't hang out past like the first few hours of the day, because after that, like after that, they just go about their business, right? So like a lot of these people, because they're operating on East Coast time, once they do their early morning stuff, they kind of just pack up shop and leave, right? They pack up shop and leave. The Fantasy Life crew that I was here with, right? We had our banner, everything set up. We were doing all of our setup early morning. But once the Sirius XM show was done, right? The producer and my co-host Kendall, like they packed up shop and went home. Now me, because I rock with you guys, I'm 10 toes down for the rest of the time. But once they were done, like that's it. If you're not here for the actual football game, which 90+% of the people who are here, they're not here for the game. They're here because Media Row during the Super Bowl, right? That Super Bowl week, Media Row, it's like the Super Bowl of media. There's no other entity, right? There's no other sport that has a one game kind of walk off like this. Not even, if you think about it, not even like the World Cup is the same, because that's a tournament, right? So it's like everything that's going on, and you don't have an entity set up like a media day where everybody comes, or media week where everyone comes for an entire week and it's a celebration about that one game, right? Like you don't have that anywhere else. And so this is very unique to football and football media, right? It's very unique to football and football media in the way in which like we set these things up. And so a lot of what happens during this week is media entities just trying to like get their stuff out there, make their bones, meet people, mingle, all of that stuff. Like the mingling part is probably bigger than anything else. The opportunity to meet like-minded individuals within the industry. A lot of people are out here trying to find gigs, right? Trying to continue to, build their resume up, like show what they can do. Then there are the individual content creators, like the people who work on stuff independently. This is their chance to come out and get content that shows that they're like plugged in, that they might be a real legitimate source. And so anytime you get the opportunity to be amongst it, that's good. Like I always tell you guys, like I'm pretty plugged in with things. But with football, even more so than the Giants, just with the entire, infrastructure of football, I tend to have a little bit more grasp on. And so it's interesting to see people move, right? Like it's a Friday. I just told you it's not the most busy day. Yet there are still people all over the place. Like there are athletes all over the place. There are media personalities all over the place. It's not as if it's barren. It's just definitely not Thursday. This time, but by this time yesterday, it was like shoulder to shoulder in between people's, booths. Today, there are several places where media was set up where other people have just started trying to come in and take over, house the spots, which I think is hilarious. And because I don't blame them, you know what I'm saying? If you see an open spot, you're like, okay, let me go rocket that open spot. But the truth is that people pay like thousands of dollars to be at these spots. And so you want to, I've always, because I've gone and posted up on tables that weren't mine in the past. Like I just always make sure that if it gets occupied and somebody's there, that I'm respectful and just, slide it out the way. But you see all of that type of stuff happening. You see all of that type of stuff happening because people are trying to make some moves. And so with that, I saw Jaxson Dart and Cam Scatterbo was here today, right? And interesting enough, Jaxson Dart, Cam Scatterbo here today after last night when when Dart did not win Rookie of the Year, right? He did not win Rookie of the Year. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, did Jaxson Dart get robbed of Rookie of the Year? Like, because my problem isn't with other people winning. My problem is with the reasoning for other people winning individual awards, right? I will never understand why team success has anything to do with your individual award unless what you bring to the table elevates the team to wins, right? If what you bring to the table, if it elevates teams to a win, right? If they're winning because of you and really only because of you or mostly because of you, then okay, like put that into perspective. But if you can't really prove that a team is winning because of you or you just happen to be there, like if you're not really the number one catalyst for winning, then I don't know why, right? I don't know why we're taking winning into account. And the thing that I keep coming back to is that there are just too many unqualified people who have votes. This is not me. By the way, this isn't me like slandering the people who are voting because I'm jealous. I'm just telling it how it is. The proof of the pudding is in the tasting. There's just way too many people out here who have votes who don't know what they're talking about, who don't know what they're seeing, who don't understand how this thing works. Like there should be some type of criteria to follow, some type of checklist before you make a decision that you have to have. It shouldn't just be left to the devices of everyone. Like I have votes in certain like things. Like I vote on the FCS top 25, vote on the FCS awards, the HBCU Player of the Year awards. I have criteria that I'm looking for when it comes to awards that I deem to be individual awards versus awards that are given to an individual, yet based on their overall success, right? So for instance, like the MVP, right? The most valuable player to me says, if I take this player off, right? If I pull this player off the team, that's having a ton of success, that team no longer has a ton of success. And that unfortunately, that's why a lot of running backs and wide receivers, like a lot of those guys don't end up winning MVP, is because you can't 1000% say that if you pulled Saquon Barkley off that team last year, that team would not have still been a championship caliber team, because we watched that team without Saquon Barkley go to a Super Bowl, right? I could, however, say that if you pulled Jalen Hurts off that team and what he had been able to do in that season and how he managed and all of the things, like if you went that route, then yes, you might be able to say with conviction, hey, this team isn't as good, which is why you see quarterbacks get the MVP award. I don't like it necessarily, but I understand at least there's a criteria that seems to fit, right? So then if you have a season where there's no standout quarterback on a standout team, those are usually the seasons that you can see the MVP award go to a non-quarterback. But when it comes to player of the year awards, right? Offensive and defensive player of the year, offensive and defensive rookie of the year, like those should have nothing to do with your team's success. They should have absolutely nothing to do with your team's success. It should only have to do with your success. Like, how successful were you at doing the job that you were asked to do, right? Because if that's the case, man, it's hard to see Jaxson Dart not win this award. If you were considering Tyler Shuck for the award, then how is Jaxson Dart not, right? Like, how is he not the rookie of the year? If you were considering Tyler Shuck for the award, knowing he only played half the games or a little over half the games, right? Knowing that he wasn't dealing with being without his number one wide receiver, right? Knowing that, like, if we're really being honest, New Orleans had a rookie quarterback that took over a veteran team, right? A veteran team that can't necessarily be denied. And shout out to Jaxson 357. In all honesty, Coach Tech curb stomped the competition. Did he really? Now, mind you, I thought early on it wasn't Tet. Early on, Emeka Egbuka was the best wide receiver, the best rookie wide receiver in the NFL. It wasn't even Tet. It wasn't even Tet. Like, when did Tet take over as the best rookie? Right? When did he take over as the best rookie? I know that sometimes people don't understand these things, and so y'all will say something like Tech curb stomp the competition. But that's just crazy talk. That's just crazy talk. It's not based in any facts. It's not. If you don't believe me, just look at the game logs. If you don't believe me, just look at the game logs, and it'll tell you everything you need to know about his season. Ted McMillan had 7 touchdowns. 7, right? He had 2 games that were multi-touchdown games. He had 2 games where he had 2 touchdowns, which means that over 50% of his touchdown production came in 2 games. The others, right? 3 more games, which means that all of his touchdown production came in 5 games. You want to know how many touchdowns Ted McMillan had in the last 9 games of the season? Right? The last 10 games of the season? 2. It came in 1 game versus one of the worst defenses in the NFL, Dallas. By the way, that game, he had 3 receptions for 29 yards. Ted McMillan only eclipsed 100 yards receiving twice the entire season. So when was he dominant? When was he a dominant force? Like, somebody tell me when you looked out there and said, oh snap, Ted McMillan is a dominant force. Like, that's we're not talking about a dominant season. We're not talking about, he is 6'5", 220 pounds. He's 6'5" and 220. And he had 7 touchdowns. And it came in 5 games. And 5 of those touchdowns came in the first half of the season. First half of those seasons. 4 games, first half of the season. Matter of fact, let's do this, right? Because again, these are individual awards. So I'm okay with like taking out and just looking at the individual performance. Because again, I said that the team doesn't matter when we're talking about these individual awards. The only time the team should be considered is in MVP talk. But in these player of the year, rookie of the year talks, I don't care about what the team did or what the team didn't do. Right? The Panthers were a less than 500 team. So if they don't elevate, if you're saying, oh well, if he wasn't there, they lose, like they lose XYZ games. Who cares? They were a below 500 team in one of the worst divisions in all of football. The Bucs weren't good. The Saints weren't good. The Falcons weren't good. Panthers weren't good. Right? So let's look at what his stats look like. Let's check out what his stats look like on a game-by-game basis. He hit the ground running, right? 5 for 81, 4 for 85. That was his first 2 games out the gate. 5 for 81, 4 for 85. Great. Nobody was talking about him. You know why? Because Emeka Egbuka was down in Tampa catching touchdown passes. Third game of the year, he had 1 reception for 5 yards. 4th game of the year versus Tampa, bad team. 6 for 73 and a touchdown. Right? This is when he was able to start getting into the end zone. Game 5, 2 receptions, 25. Game 6, 1 reception, 43 yards and a touchdown. Game 7, 2 receptions, 35 yards and a touchdown. Game 8, the only dominant game of his rookie season, came in an overtime win versus Atlanta. He had 8 receptions for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. That is his best game by far. It's not even close. Then he went the next 4 weeks, 5 for 60, 4 for 46, 7 for 99, 3 for 33. The next 4 weeks, no touchdowns, no 100-yard performances. He had a 99-yard performance, no 100-yard performances. Then he had his next 2 touchdown game. He had his next 2 touchdown game. 3 receptions, 29 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then to finish out the season, it was 6 for 73, 4 for 62, 3 for 48, 6 for 100, and 5 for 68. Where is the dominance? Where was the dominance? Jaxson, let me let you in on a little secret. It's easy for a conference to have a better win rate when they're playing each other. Like when bad teams play each other, they all have better records because they get to play each other. They just beat up on each other. They had a better win rate than the NFC East. Do you, in all honesty, believe that if you lined up the NFC East teams healthy and the NFC South teams healthy, how many games are they winning? Line them up best on best, right? Best on best. So this year, I guess that would be Eagles and Panthers healthy. That's a dub for the Eagles, right? Cowboys, Buccaneers, that's a dub for the Cowboys. It's a dub for the Cowboys. Washington and Atlanta, that's a dub for Washington. If we're talking about healthy, right? Okay, so yeah, if we're talking about healthy, Jaxson says healthy would be Eagles, Bucks. That's a dub for the Eagles. All right, dub for the Eagles. So then healthy, we're talking about either Washington or the Cowboys, but I still stand the same. Washington and the Cowboys, they're beating Atlanta and Carolina. And then there is the Giants and the Saints. And you could say it's a toss-up, but the Giants weren't healthy. The Giants weren't healthy when they played the Saints. You bring back Malik Neighbors, it's a whole different animal. Nobody out here thinks that the NFC South is better than the NFC East if we're just being honest about it. Yeah, the win percentage is better because you got to play each other. You got to play each other. And they didn't have to also play the NFC West. All of those dudes. I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna go through their whole roster, but I'm telling you, there's no dominance. There's no consistency of dominance in what Ted McMillan did. It was one dominant game and then a bunch of decent games, but he's the number one option. He's the number one option. This guy, right? Because this matters. This guy got 122 targets, 70 receptions, 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. Right? And we're saying that he's the rookie of the year. But like, if we're just talking about it, like, I think the rookie of the year has to have a more dominant season. Like Tet won rookie of the year and Emeka Egbuka, right? Tet won rookie of the year, but Emeka Egbuka had 63 receptions for 938 yards and 6 touchdowns. Right? So the guy who isn't the full-time starter, who has to split up targets with Mike Evans and when he came back and Chris Godwin when he came back, and all the other stuff. Like, he had very similar numbers on similar targets, right? He had very similar numbers on similar targets. So, like, I don't know about all of this. He is like the runaway. He curb stomp. Like, that's the word. I'm still, how brutal and how violent and how definitive a curb stomping is supposed to be. Like, if we're talking about like what a curb stomping is supposed to be, right? That's brutal. That's violent. That's definitive. It's over. You're dead. Like, that's how it is. But if we're just looking at individual play, Jaxson Dart and what he was able to do, right? Jaxson Dart and what he was able to do, just as a runner, right? Just as a runner, we're talking about 86 attempts, 487 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Just as a runner, before we even start talking about the passing numbers, just as a runner, that's what he did. Those aren't tush pushes. Those aren't Josh Allen running. That's him going out there getting busy. That's him getting busy. When you add the passing yards in, right? When you add the passing yards in and you say, man, this guy had another 15 passing touchdowns. He only threw 5 interceptions, right? Over 2,200 yards passing. Like, what am I missing? Again, if you thought Tyler Shuck should have even been considered, right? If you thought he should have even been considered for Rookie of the Year, then there is no way that Jaxson Dart should not have run away with this. People put Tyler Shuck in the running for Rookie of the Year, and this man in 11 games had 2,300 yards, over 2,300 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Those were his passing numbers. And just for the sake of being fair, he had 186 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns on 45 attempts. So on half of the attempts, or a little more than half of the attempts of Dart, he had less than half of the yards and only a third of the touchdowns. What am I missing here? Please, somebody tell me if I'm tripping. Tell me if I'm really bugging. Like, because I don't think I'm really bugging. And you guys know me well enough to know, if y'all watch this show, I'm not out here caping for Jaxson Dart. I'm not a Jaxson Dart truther. I'm just calling it how I see it. Ted did not have, it wasn't like he was out there as Randy Moss. He didn't go out there and do those types of numbers. He didn't pull a Justin Jefferson out the gate. Like this dude was good. He wasn't great. He wasn't transformational. Not like a 6'5", 220-pound wide receiver is supposed to be. Now, it doesn't mean he won't be. I think the ceiling is very high. I think the ceiling is very high. But if we're just talking about purely the offensive stats and what they look like and how they've been handled, what are we talking about? Like, you drop Jaxson Dart into a situation You dropped him into a situation where he didn't have a number one wide receiver. Then you took away his best runner, his best pure runner of the bunch. He had tight ends and receivers dropping passes left and right. Y'all came on here and killed me for saying for my Darius Slayton takes, and now you're not going to give Jaxson Dart credit for those? If you're going to give Darius Slayton blame, you got to give Jaxson Dart credit. So how many more touchdowns, how many more yards would he have had without all of the drops? We can't say, well, how many more he would have had with all the turnovers, because he didn't turn the ball over a bunch. And if we're keeping it a bean, the majority of his turnovers came in one game. They came in one game. Like, this idea that he didn't have a great season, what in the hell were y'all watching? Like what are y'all talking about? He didn't have a great season. The team didn't have a great season. Jaxson Dart had a great season. For what he was expected to do as a rookie, if everybody was healthy, and the fact that he wasn't healthy and everybody wasn't healthy, he had a great season. Hey, if you don't know what was great about it, hit the rewind button. Slide the slider back. I don't know what else to tell you guys. Like, these things are not up for debate. These things are not up for debate. Do y'all think that a great season only means that he has to throw for 300 yards a game? Because that's not football anymore. Go and look on the stats. That's not football anymore. There's not many people out here throwing for 300 a game. Hey, I'm just playing by the rules that everybody else put in place. I started this thing by saying, if you're going to say that Tyler Shuck was a Rookie of the Year candidate, then there is no way that Jaxson Dart should not have won Rookie of the Year. You don't have to play a complete season in order to win Rookie of the Year. That's not the litmus test for Rookie of the Year. That's not how it works. Tyler Shuck didn't play the full season, and yet they were considering him for Rookie of the Year. Why? Because his team started getting some wins. Meaningless wins versus bad teams or okay teams, but his team started getting wins. That should have nothing to do with the individual award. Rookie of the Year is individual. That's my whole point. Am I out here telling you that Jaxson Dart was an MVP candidate? No. But if we're just talking about Rookie of the Year, that should be based off your individual performance. How can you not put his performance in totality and say he deserved that award, especially because he didn't play a full season? Especially because he didn't play a full season. And it gets me to thinking that these people who are voting don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. They're just making it up. They might as well just say, hey, so put a poll up on social media. Whatever the result is, that should be what they vote. Like, that's essentially what they're doing. Like, these can't be original takes or by yourself takes. Like, there's no way. Like, I'm not dismissing Tet. I'm saying that if you put what Tet did versus what Jaxson Dart did, they They don't equate. Jaxson Dart has more touchdowns than Tet. He has more touchdowns than Tet. Take the passing touchdowns away. He has more touchdowns than Tet. Just as a runner, Jaxson Dart would have been in the running for Rookie of the Year. 9 touchdowns. These ain't tush push touchdowns. Y'all watch the season. These weren't 1 yard and dive into the end zone touchdowns. Why are we changing the criteria now all of a sudden? I know why. Let me for some of you that might be just getting here right now. I know why Ted McMillan won. My point is that should not be why he won. That should not be why he won. Isaac, I'm not even gonna like acknowledge that. That's crazy. That's crazy talk. We're not doing that. Like, I'm not saying I don't understand why he won. I know why he won. I'm saying I don't like that his team's success, which is really not even success, they backdoored into that playoff berth. They had to win. They backdoored into the playoffs. This was a losing team, right? Then they went into the playoffs and got beat because they're a losing team. So if they're a losing team and the Giants are a losing team, then your team accolades, your team stats, like how your team gets down, that shouldn't come into play. Like, that shouldn't come into play. If that's how your team is moving, then that shouldn't come into play. Like, I'm not willing to like mortgage my house over Jaxson Dart not winning Rookie of the Year. I'm just asking the question, does this criteria make any sense? And the answer for me is no. But I want to get to some other things because, again, Jaxson Dart was here and Cam Scatterbo was here. They were on Up and Adams with Kay Adams. Shout out to Kay Adams. Anytime Kay Adams wants to just come and like, you know, hang with your boy, I'm cool with it. She's such a little wee thing though. I'm a big dude, and she is a little thing. But she seems hella cool. Like, and I like hella cool people. My issue with the voting overall, when we look at these people who come out and say, hey, I voted for this person, but that person shouldn't have even been considered, right? Like, somebody gave a vote, I believe, for MVP to Justin Herbert. That person should have their credentials stripped. Like, that person legitimately doesn't know football. Justin Herbert has never even remotely looked like an MVP candidate. Justin Herbert has put up empty calorie stats for the majority of his career, right? All of them years where he was losing, he was doing his best his best Matthew Stafford impression, right? When he was doing his best Matthew Stafford impression, y'all do remember that for 10 plus years, maybe, Matthew Stafford wasn't good anytime that it mattered. And then when they would be losing, he would just put up all of these ridiculous numbers because they just threw the ball all the time, right? And then he got older and more mature, and then they traded him to a team that had everything in place, and they moved heaven and earth to make him as cool as he possibly could, and then he won a Super Bowl, and now he's won an MVP. That ain't Justin Herbert, though. So giving him a vote should automatically eliminate you from voting. It would be like me giving Lamar Jackson a vote this year for MVP. He wasn't an MVP candidate. He had injuries. His team had some people out, but he wasn't good. Hey, I appreciate you. I appreciate you for jumping in, and I appreciate all the people who've come in to rock with me. We're over at the Super Bowl Media Row on a Friday. It's a lighter day, but there's still some juice in the room. Stephen A. Smith just went rolling by with his little contingency, wearing the dark blue with the warm nodes on it. Had like a purplish hue to it. Like, this is on Friday. I think it's important to still get your money's worth, right? Like, I'm here because there's still juice in the room. When there's no more juice in the room, that's when it's time to go. But until the juice is gone, I'm going to squeeze the juice for everything it's worth, right? That's it. I'm going to squeeze the juice for everything it's worth. That's like, that to me is how this thing should be done. There's a serious problem with the voting, right? The fact that Roger Craig, a pioneer in running backing, right? A pioneer in how things are done. A pioneer in how things are done as a running back. He was the modern day running back before there was a modern day running back. He was the guy who could run and who could catch it out the backfield, be dynamic, be a legitimate 3-down back. And a guy like Roger Craig had to wait 30 plus years to get in. Why? 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 Because he wasn't Emmitt Smith. He didn't have the greatest offensive line known to man, right? Because he wasn't, because he was on a team with other guys who were Hall of Fame. Like, why did he have to wait this long? And the problem with all of these voting bodies is that people are allowed to exist in anonymity with their vote. And they're not called to the carpet for their vote. And they're not held to a standard for their vote. Well, if you're not going to hold someone to a standard, if you're not going to call them to the carpet, if you're not going to have them in a situation where they have to have some type of qualifications that make sense for a voter, then all we're doing is just giving votes to people who are popular or people who have been around for a long time. Hey, here's two things that should never matter in a voting, in getting a vote. The number of followers you have or how popular you are, that should never matter. Your popularity should never matter when it comes to voting for awards. Your popularity should never matter. The other thing that should never matter when it comes to voting is how long you've been around the sport. Your age and your longevity in the sport should not matter. You know what should matter? Your knowledge of the sport. Your knowledge of the sport should matter, right? When you become, if you become like a justice, right? If you become like a Supreme Court judge, do you get there just because you've been a judge for a lot of years, or do you get there because of your understanding, knowledge, and application of the law? Right? Your understanding, your knowledge, your interpretation, your application. of the law. That's why you become a justice. You don't get to just be a justice because you hung around for 30 years, right? So why are beat reporters the people in here voting for guys on other teams? If you've been a beat reporter, if you've been a beat reporter with the Giants for 30 years and you've covered the Giants, can you really talk, and only the Giants, can you really talk intelligently about the Chargers? So when the Chargers guy that's a Hall of Famer comes up and you have a vote for that, there should be some type of like understanding, hey, that person that covered the Giants, they know about the NFL. They just happen to cover the Giants, right? And there are tons of Giants. There are tons of Giants people out there who know about the NFL, right? There are a ton of people who are covering the Bucks who know about the NFL. There are a ton of people who are covering Kansas City that know about the NFL. So it's not me saying, oh, well, everybody shouldn't have a vote, or these people, because they're beat writers, beat reporters, they shouldn't have a vote. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it shouldn't be a rubber stamp, right? It shouldn't be a rubber stamp. And it's not, I appreciate it, but when T.O. didn't get in, I didn't look at it sideways. I knew exactly what the play was when he didn't get in. I knew exactly what the play was when he didn't get in. When T.O. didn't get in, I knew exactly why. Why? Because T.O. and the media have never been like simpatico. That's their chance to stick it to T.O. for not being a good interview, or for him having like some turbulence. Not for any, the Hall of Fame is for what you've done in the sport, not what you've done to the media. The Hall of Fame has nothing to do with your media savvy. There are people who are awkward. They don't feel comfortable talking with media members. There's some people who don't trust media members, and for like a perfect reason, because there are some snaky media people out there looking to, like, jab you, looking to backdoor you. So I can understand why there would be apprehension when it comes to trusting media. So now, because you didn't kiss the ring, because you didn't give great sound bites, because you were short with them, because you didn't like talking to them, now that affects your ability to get into the Hall of Fame as a first ballot. So now you get to hold over T.O.'s head. Oh, well, yeah, but he wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer. Man, get GTFOH. Everybody and their mama know you can't name 3 receivers without naming T.O. in the world forever, period, point blank. Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, T.O. That's how the list starts with anybody who knows anything about the sport and how it's been played from that position. Jerry Rice, the GOAT, the longevity, the consistency with the longevity. It's Randy Moss, the biggest freak that's ever touched down on the NFL. Like, and then it's T.O., who is the grinder with the app. He's a perfect avenue of what happens when the athleticism meets the work ethic. Right? When the size and the athleticism meets the work ethic, you get T.O. It's every It's every demographic. You're either out here trying to be a Jerry Rice, a T.O., or a Randy Moss. That's how it rolls. Tell me if I'm wrong. You name me. Matter of fact, let's play a game. You name me a wide receiver, and I'll tell you which group he falls into. Right? Because Malik Neighbors is he should be a Jerry Rice. That's who Malik Neighbors should be. No, I remember all of the goofy hijinks. I remember all the goofy stuff. He didn't trust the media. He had enough run-ins with the media to show that they didn't have his best interest at heart. So why should he trust you? You don't have his best interest at heart. So if you don't have his best interest at heart, why should he trust you? It makes perfect sense to me, right? To me, it makes sense. I don't know if it makes sense to anybody else, but it makes sense to me. If I was trying to interview someone, or if I was a beat writer and T.O. was on my beat, and every time I wrote something about T.O., it was negative, I would expect T.O. to not want to talk to me. So now we got these voters out here who are voting on these Hall of Fame awards for whatever reasons that don't have to do with the actual game. We have MVP voters who are voting based off of some weird, goofy criteria that doesn't make any sense. Last year, Josh Allen won the MVP, right? Last year, Josh Allen won the MVP. And my camera is doing some weirdness right now, so I apologize. Hey, look at me. So my camera is a smart camera, so it's got like tracking. And if I put my hand up, then it turns on the auto tracking. So sometimes when I'm talking, I'll throw my hand up, it turns on the auto tracking, and see, it'll just start moving with me. But there's so many bodies in here that when I mistakenly do it, it'll just start tracking somebody else, right? So like, I just look at these things and go, what are these criteria? Like I was saying, last year when Josh Allen won the MVP, right? It wasn't that Josh Allen didn't deserve an MVP. He just didn't deserve that MVP, right? I'm not saying that Josh Allen wasn't an MVP caliber quarterback. I'm saying that wasn't the MVP. That wasn't the MVP season. Right? Josh Allen had 3 seasons where he went for over 4,200 yards, 35 plus touchdowns, and probably a little too many picks, double-digit picks. But pick any one of those seasons, right? Pick any one of those seasons, 20, 21, 22, right? And we can talk. Any one of those seasons, 20, 21, and 22, we can talk. Those make sense to me. And in 21 and 22, he not only had the passing yards, but he also ran for 700 plus yards on the ground and 6 or more touchdowns. Pick one of those 2 seasons. But you pick the season where you pick the season where it was pedestrian numbers for a guy like Josh Allen. 3,700 yards, 28 touchdowns, 6 picks. And you gave the caveat of, oh well, he was out there doing it by himself. How, if he had those types of numbers, you can't say he's out there doing it by himself. Meanwhile, Lamar Jackson had the greatest season a quarterback has ever had last year. If you were going to give the MVP to Josh Allen, it wasn't in 2024. It should not have been in 2024. Mind you, those 3 seasons I talked to you about of Josh Allen, they don't hold a candle to Lamar Jackson's season last year. Hell, Lamar Jackson's MVP seasons don't hold a candle to that season last year. And yet, Lamar Jackson will go down, however many MVPs he wins, he will go down in history as not having won an MVP in 2024 when he threw for 4,100 yards, 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He will not have an MVP award for a season where he ran for 900 yards. 900 yards. That means that this man had over 5,000 yards of total offense by himself. Lamar Jackson that season was an elite level quarterback and an elite level running back at the same damn time. There is no way on God's green earth that Lamar Jackson should not have won that MVP. And yet people tried to justify it. While all of us are out here just saying, oh, they just gave it to Josh Allen because they felt like Josh Allen was due. That's not why you're supposed to win an MVP award. Those MVP, both of those teams were good. They both made the playoffs. Who cares what the seeds are? They both made the playoffs. There's no way Lamar Jackson shouldn't be a 3-time MVP. And here's the slap in the face. You vote Lamar Jackson first team All-Pro. So now the MVP isn't even a first team All-Pro. Shouldn't that be a rubber stamp? If you're the MVP, whatever position you play, shouldn't you automatically be a first team All-Pro? And yet, nope, that's not what happened for Lamar. This voting thing is janky. The MVP voting is janky. There's no way that you should even have an MVP, a Hall of Fame. There's no way you should even have a Hall of Fame vote if you didn't vote for Bill Belichick and you didn't vote for Bob Kraft to be in the Hall of Fame on a first ballot. If there was ever a coach and an owner that deserved to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, it's those dudes. Don't give me no deflate gate stuff. That's not why they dissed him. They dissed him because he dissed media his entire life. And unfortunately, a lot of media people are people who have axes to grind. Hey, going back to our Jaxson Dart conversation, right? It's a great point. If he's playing for Dallas with those types of stats, if Jaxson Dart is playing for Dallas with those types of stats, he's Rookie of the Year. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I don't know why. And again, I'm not trying to diss Tet. He had a good season. He's 6'5", 220. He's the number one option. He should have that type of season. If he's still having that type of season in 2 seasons, guess what? It won't be successful for Tech. If he has barely over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns, if that's what his ceiling is, then nobody will be like, oh man, that was a you can't do that. You got to be putting up Mike Evans in his prime type of stats. And don't give me, oh, well, look at Bryce Young, because y'all the same people who tell me that Jameis Winston wasn't good. Right? So, hey, I'm just looking at this thing and I'm saying it don't look right. I'm gonna leave you guys with this. The Giants went out and they signed they signed to their their coaching staff an offensive name that might sound familiar to you guys, right? They signed an offensive name that might sound familiar to you guys. Tell me if this name rings a bell, right? And then I'm going to give you my thought process on it as we get out of there. And I can tell as we get out of here because my ADHD is taking over and I'm like, right? It always happens. Greg Roman is joining the staff, right? And my immediate reaction when I hear that Greg Roman is joining the Ravens staff is, why is he here? Right? That's my immediate reaction. Man, Greg Roman's joining the staff. Why is he here? What is he here to do? Right? Because he's not the offensive coordinator. And if he's not the offensive coordinator, then I'm like, well, what is he here for? What is 53-year-old Greg Roman bringing to the table? Right? So we have Greg Roman being hired to do something on this staff, but we still don't have an offensive line coach. We have an assistant offensive line coach. We still don't have a quarterbacks coach. We have nobody in there. Like who's the guy directly talking to Jaxson Dart? But we have a senior offensive assistant and an offensive run game coordinator. My question is, if you need an offensive run game coordinator, then why did you hire Matt Nagy? Don't tell me, oh, a lot of teams have this. A lot of teams give dudes names for stuff just so that they can help them get better jobs. A lot of those guys don't actually exist in those worlds. But let's just say he does, right? Let's just say he does. Greg Roman, a guy who John Harbaugh fired, is now the guy coming back in to be his run game coordinator. Why did you fire him? Why was the reason that you're no longer wanting him as your offensive coordinator? It's because he had a very limited view of how to work with the athletic quarterback. And it was all, well, let's just treat this like single wing football. Do I think that Greg Roman will add some cool little wrinkles in the run game? Cool. Yeah. But it still makes me think this is not what John Harbaugh was thinking when he first took the job. Nobody's going to convince me that John Harbaugh took the job and went, you know what, Matt Nagy, I want him, and then I want to couple him with Greg Roman and put that power coupling together. Nobody's going to convince me that's what they were out here trying to do. Because it doesn't make any sense, right? It doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, it's questionable. The same way that Matt Nagy was questionable is the reason Greg Roman was questionable. Because if you look at Greg Roman's career, he's never been an offensive line coach. He's never been a quarterback's coach. He doesn't immediately help either of the two areas that are critical for this team to be successful. How are you supposed to feel good about this? Again, I'm not saying you got to feel bad about it. I don't think it's got to be doom and gloom, but you can't feel good. And then if you tell me, well, this is the foundation being built, Isaac, if you tell me this is the foundation being built, but then also people tell me, well, these guys will probably only be in place for a season, and then next season he can bring in some other guys. I'm going to go, that's not a foundation. Right? I'm going to go, well, then that means the foundation is a little bit creaky. But we shall see. Hey, I don't have to be optimistic right now. I can work my way to optimistic once I see this thing fully fleshed out. Right now, I can ask the questions that need to be asked because there's some questionable decisions being made. That's it. Questionable decisions require questioning of the actions. That's all. Like hiring Matt Nagy is a questionable decision, and then coupling him with Greg Roman is proof that the decision was questionable. But this is a pivot, right? My only problem is if this is the pivot, that ain't a great pivot, my friends. It's not an exciting pivot. We shall see. Ladies and gentlemen, we are trying. I am desperately trying. I need you to go on your socials. I need you to talk to your homeboys, right? I need you to talk to your homegirls. I need you to let them know that we are trying to get to 3,000 subscribers before the Super Bowl is over, right? By Monday when I wake up, I want to look and see 3,000 subscribers. We are 36 subscribers away. I feel like we're just teetering here because we'll go up and then come back down. Maybe people are like, screw that. I'm taking my subscribership away. I don't know what's going on. It doesn't even matter, but I'll tell you this. We are 36 subscribers away. Just go on your social media right now and say, hey, go follow the New York Giants on SI. And then, come hang out with Coach Gene while we talk football. Hey, Remy, I appreciate you. Remy just said we 35 now. I love it. Love it. I do believe the Todd Monken hire killed everything. Here's my problem. You should have had something in place already. And there should have been an announcement made that, hey, Todd Monken, just like they did in with the Chargers and with the Titans, hey, Todd Monken's going to be the offensive coordinator unless he gets a head coaching job. Then, right, if you do that, behind the scenes, should have been conversations with whomever that number 2 guy was going to be. Whoever the guy is that was going to be number 2 out here, there should have been conversations being had about it right then and there. Because if there were, then we wouldn't be in this situation. Once Monken was gone, it would be an easy pivot. Okay, he's gone. He's gone. Now what's the plan B? These moves tell me there was no real legit plan B because Harbaugh probably didn't think that Monken was going to get a head coaching job. Right? But if we're being honest, there's only one organization that would have hired Todd Monken as a head coach. It was the Browns. And just like Isaac said, by the way, everyone should do this. If any team would have offered him a head coaching job, he would have taken it. And he definitely should have, right? Why would you not take one of 32 jobs in the world that pays you millions upon millions of dollars? And if you don't succeed at it, you get to go right back to doing what you were doing before you had the job. There's no way in the world that Harbaugh should not have had a plan B ready to go. And as soon as Monken told him, hey, I'm taking the job with the Browns, he should have said, okay, and called up plan B, and it should have been done. And we should already have a quarterbacks coach. They should already have an offensive line coach. It is absolutely ridiculous that we are this long into the Harbaugh tenure without an offensive line coach and without a quarterbacks coach, and I don't know who they're going to hire. But I could really see it being 1-year rentals for a lot of these guys, and then in year 2, having to hit the reset button and do it all over again. So I don't have any updates on who's going to be the quarterbacks coach. I don't have any updates on who's going to be the offensive line coach. I do know that the pickings are now slim. The pickings are now really, really slim. Hey, y'all know how long a week is in this business? When I took a head coaching job, this is high school football. This is high school football. I took a head coaching job, and within 2 weeks, I had an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator, a wide receivers coach, an O-line guy. Within 2 weeks. So we'll see what happens, right? Like I said, I think we have to talk about it. It doesn't mean that just because we're talking about it that you can't be optimistic, but it doesn't mean that we can't talk about it. Like, we got to be able to talk about these things. All right. Hey, listen, it's a beautiful day out. There's some immaculate vibes in here. Again, it's a lower key day, but there are still some names around. Jaxson Dart and Scatterbo was around. They're stars. They're stars. I know I've said it before. They're stars. You should have saw how many bodies were around the Up and Adams set when they came through. If those two guys go out there and have great seasons, you're talking about stars in the Big Apple. Stars in the Big Apple. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you, like I like Scat as a running back a lot. I'm not really like his personality ain't really my jam. Like, but cool. I don't care. Like, all I care about is the production. The boy is The boy is good. So, you know, we'll see. Like, I like Dart. I like Scat. I think that both of them are going to be stars because when you look at the way in which the people just, it's beautiful to watch. We'll see about all of these hires though. A shout out to all of you out there that have been with me for the hour 15. Really do appreciate it. I may go live tomorrow too. I may hit you off with another one tomorrow. I might just, roll you all the way into the Super Bowl. We never know. We never know. But if I don't, I'll definitely see you guys on Monday again as we kind of hit the reset button and look to the NFL Combine, right? Like we'll hit that reset button and get everything going for that. Until next time, make sure that you go to the New York Giants on SI and look at all of the news and information that's going on over there. Make sure you come hit that subscribe button on the New York Giants on SI YouTube channel. We are trying to get to 3,000. Again, we're at 2,966. That means we are 34 away. 2 new subscribers since I said it. I love it. Until next time, I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I have a giant issue.